Getting bullied is an unfortunate yet common experience for so many of us. However, as with so many other challenges that we all face in life, this can make us stronger. It can teach us to embrace ourselves and love ourselves even more.
But I like myself just the way I am.
Of course, it may sound like a little bit paradoxical, but you guys are going to understand what I'm saying after this video. So anyways, after the video I posted a few weeks ago about bullying, and about my whole recent bullying experience, I received an overwhelming amount of support and kind messages. One such message came from my friend Josh, who's from my gym, who's also an OG sauna friend, and this message really stood out to me. He sent me this incredible voice memo where he said how he couldn't get over how well I responded to the whole situation, and how I've managed to stay so kind in spite of all the challenges that I've been through. He also highlighted how I'm on the field of play, well of course all the bullies are on the sidelines, and he also spoke about how I didn't harden myself, or my heart, even though I very easily could have, and he said how good I make everyone feel whenever I'm in their presence.
I do what I can.
An incredibly nice, heartwarming message from Josh. So after talking with him a little bit more about this whole situation, he suggested maybe I could expand on this idea of overcoming bullies, and take some famous examples of people, and show something along the lines of bullied to bold. And I could show how other people handled this whole situation too. Now also, one main point I want to address is that getting bullied doesn't mean that you have to harden yourself, or close yourself off, or become a mean-spirited person because of this. Especially since I know for me in my own story, I find strength coming from staying kind, positive, as well as lighthearted. Now as for the examples I'm going to bring up in this video, it's not just going to be about, oh they were bullied, and let's just focus on that aspect. But let's look at how they responded to the hate or being underestimated, or how they chose to act every time they got written off. Bullying is something I'm totally against, which is why I'm highlighting it. But I'm going to use these examples to prove to you that it doesn't have to define us or stop us. I'm not someone who believes as some people do these days, that let's bring back bullying because it made us stronger. And yes, of course, while it can do that, oftentimes it also does so in super harmful ways, such as eating disorders, as well as cutting yourself off emotionally. Anyways, let's dive deeper into these examples now.
Give me a...
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the Jared and James channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys didn't know that, must mean that you're not subscribed to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts in the video. Follow me on every platform, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through by Jared Weiss. All links purchased on my website, which is jaredryanweiss.com. That's JAREDRYANWEISS.com. Buy the book, support me, and make sure to check out all the awesome shirts in there as well. Every shirt has been designed by me, every shirt is made of 100% organic cotton, so any support at all, as I'm always saying, would be very much appreciated. So let's dive deeper into bullying, and some super powerful examples of how it doesn't have to define you, and how to overcome it in the best way possible. So now first of all, I want to say thank you to all the people who sent such nice, kind, heartwarming comments to me on that recent video about bullying, and especially all the comments I got on the clips coming from that video. So just to refresh your memory, I had someone from my high school accidentally write to me on Instagram, someone who I hadn't spoken to in over 10 years, and this person was mocking me in my book sales. And yet, I was able to turn this into a whole teaching experience for you guys to show you my inner response. And I received all these comments, whether in person as well as online, and I added a bunch of followers, and I realized, truthfully, so many of us can resonate with this experience of being bullied. And it sucks whenever you feel you're not enough, or when someone takes out their own inner struggles on you. But when you realize that they only have the power that you give them, this helps you to respond accordingly. Now I could have very easily called out this person by name and started up a whole beef.
She name.
Or I also could have given up on my goals and taken this as a sign to quit. But of course, I didn't do either of those things. What I've learned about bullies and haters over the years is the main thing that you can't do is change because of them. If anything, you actually have to dig in deeper and embrace who you are more. And I have plenty of bullying stories coming from my childhood, and I'm sure I'm going to be sharing these at some point, as I also do in my book Fight Through It. But today I'm mainly going to be sharing stories from others, from famous people who you may know of, but you didn't know all that they had to overcome to get there. But getting back to me, growing up I was often made fun of for being short, or I was told I had big ears, and I'm sure others of you out there have experienced being made fun of for wearing glasses, or being called nerd, or being called weird. And my heart always hurts whenever I hear someone getting bullied, because I know exactly how it feels. And so often it's the nicest of us who experience this the most, because we're seen as an easy target and like other people will take advantage of us. However, one of my favorite things about me, and like something that like I'm most proud of, is that I never let this make me a hardened individual or make me a mean person. I try to be the change that I wish to see in the world, so I choose to take every negative experience as an opportunity to be nicer and kinder and encourage more people to be themselves and to keep being different and to keep on standing out.
And the kids think I'm weird.
Weird? What's wrong with weird? The world needs weird.
The world has enough people who are trying to fit in like and all be the same. So as I see it, it needs your uniqueness. I'm also someone who's been dealing with speech challenges and like I have a podcast. I wrote a book on my own as like an unknown author. I've also had basketball dreams and dunk goals my whole life despite being only 5'6". But my point in telling you all this is that I don't let the bullies decide what I can do. And those who make fun of me don't have a say. I decide that. I don't just follow the trends, I embrace and love myself as I am, and I'm always seeking ways to amplify this. And I hope that like I can serve as a role model and an example for any of you out there. And especially when it comes to things like you can't control, such as like me with my whole speech challenges, as of course I've been healing from a life-threatening illness for the past 11 years now. It's not easy putting myself out there. But I'm so glad that like I have a platform now to show people that like they don't have to be limited by things like they have no control over, and you don't have to be defined by them, but rather show others how you overcome them and like actually embrace them as who you are. You may actually just be perfectly imperfect. This doesn't have to be a bad thing. So for my first example in this video, I'm going with Marshall Mathers, aka Eminem, or also known as Slim Shady. Now even though of course I find like he has done and said some things that like I disagree with over the past few years, this doesn't take away from his amazing skill as a rapper, as well as his overall story, which is what I want to highlight in this video. So M grew up poor in Detroit, Michigan. He was constantly bullied, getting jumped, and he was mocked all the time, especially being like a white rapper in a predominantly black industry, and he was doing that before it was cool to do so.
Well, my name is Jimmy, his name's Greg Buell. Me, him, and you, we went to the same school.
But instead of folding, what did he do? He sharpened his craft. I mean, if any of you guys out there have heard the stories about him in the studio and like how hard he works, as well as like how he's able to rhyme any word with any word, it's really crazy and cool to see. But that's what happens when you choose to believe in you and your dreams, louder than any of the doubters or haters could ever shut you up. He didn't become confident before the bullying stopped though, but rather the confidence came because he survived it. And this is just like me with how every time I've been told no or got bullied or made fun of, or I was told like I wasn't good enough for this didn't just make me stop or fit in or fall back in line. Rather, it made me want to work harder to prove to myself what I was capable of and make me even more undeniable. So it's like every time you get cut from a team or don't get that job offer, you can just stop there and call it quits, or you could double down and make your skills and attitude even more undeniable, and you can make them regret that decision. And the other great thing that Marshall or Eminem did when it came to getting bullied, as we all saw in the movie 8 Mile, which is of course a film that's like loosely based on Eminem's upbringing and like his early years of life, and so a part that I've referenced in several other videos now, because of how powerful it is, I'm referring to the scene in the final rap battle against Papa Doc, where rather than attack him, Eminem basically exposes himself.
I know everything he's about to say against me. I am white. I am a bum. I do live in a trailer with my mom.
He says all the other things that like the other guy can make fun of him for, proving that he's comfortable with all of his flaws and all of his shortcomings. So it becomes like, what are you gonna say about me now that like I haven't already said? I'm already comfortable in my own skin. And this is something like I've taken into my own life, and why I'm so open on my social media like as well as in my book. It's because I believe that like with me being so open about everything, the ups, the downs, like and everything in between, it allows everyone else to be comfortable with whatever they're going through, especially if it's something like they could relate to. It's like, oh, so Jared went through this, where he's currently at this phase in his life, and he's okay with it. Maybe I'm going to be okay with everything I have going on now too. Now next example for this video, we have motivational speaker, author, ultramarathon runner, etc., David Goggins. Now I might be slightly different in my overall approach to things than Goggins, but of course this doesn't take away from his overall amazing story and how he's dealt with and overcome bullying, adversity, and everything in between. As I've read about in his book Can't Hurt Me, throughout his whole childhood, he was bullied, he was abused by his dad, and he also had like really rough time in school, as his teacher said like he had all these learning disabilities. He dealt with a lot of trauma in his life, and in part this led to him becoming very obese, at one point until like he started to look in the mirror and decide who he wanted to become, and he wasn't going to let anyone else stand in his way. Not his father and not any of his school bullies either. So he built and cultivated this mental resilience from the ground up.
The struggle is real. It never gets any easier. You gotta get harder.
And as Goggins makes clear, your habits are ultimately up to you. People can laugh at you all they want whenever you're working towards your goals, but as long as you stick to those habits, you're going to be the one who gets the last laugh in the end. Some people out there see bullying as proof that like they're weak, others they'll use it as proof of what they can endure. And just to be clear once again, I'm totally against bullying, which is why I bring attention to it in these videos. This isn't like my way of saying we need more bullies, but rather let me show you how like when it is out there and when it does happen, let's overcome it and put the bully back in his rightful place on the sidelines and show ourselves that like they can't stop us. You can't allow others' limits and the ones that like they're going to impose on you to become your ceiling. If they want to accept those limits, cool, that's up to them. But remember that you don't have to. Now something that separates me from Goggins, as my friend Josh pointed out so nicely, the same guy who inspired this video, but something that he told me that like I really loved was that I'm a nice Goggins. And I'm not saying like I'm better or worse, but Josh pointed out how like Goggins has like this hard edge to him.
This message isn't for everybody. Some of you are so weak.
And that's of course his whole brand and like it's awesome and it does work for a lot of people. But what Josh pointed out, and like I'm really proud of this, is that I haven't let any of my adversity or any of my bullies stop me from being the kindest person I can be.
You're a good person.
I choose to keep my heart open and keep a healthy softness to me. And of course I'm extremely determined in my pursuit of my goals, and I am stubborn in fighting for my own dreams, but in my overall attitude and like my demeanor and how I treat others, I've taken all this crap and yet I've stayed nice. And I refuse like to let all this make me into something I'm not. Now next up we have another one of the all-time rap greats, and one of my all-time favorites, J. Cole. So as we heard in his warm-up and come-up mixtapes, as well as like his Friday Night Lights mixtape, it wasn't always a smooth ride to the top. He was doubted again and again, but like he always kept his vision strong. He always felt like he was ignored and doubted, but yet he chose to stay humble and always kept it real. He never changed who he was or changed his music just to fit in. He chose to stay true to who he was, and in spite of initially being labeled as like boring or unmarketable early on in his career, he rose to the top through his grind and like his overall belief in himself.
See yourself as high as you possibly could see yourself, right? Who do you see yourself as? And there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah. Be delusional even. Yeah.
So Cole was able to turn rejection into authenticity, which is also my whole brand as well. Trust me, I've heard it from so many people. Change up your content, talk about these things. These are the things that are all going viral. Or you're too nice and no one likes a nice guy. Or whatever the case may be. But I don't let any of this change me. I stay true to who I am, and I would much rather choose to attract the people who can handle me and appreciate me as I am. As the famous quote goes, as we all know, it's always better to be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not. Because for me, I know like it wouldn't feel right if I changed my brand to make me more marketable and got to the top by being a phony. It just like wouldn't feel right for me.
Something's not sitting right.
So I know, and like don't ask me to explain how, but I have this knowing deep down that what I'm doing right now is working. And it's slowly breaking through the mold. And as I've said, when you beat the game without playing it, you're seen as a threat because everyone else has been convinced that things and like the path to success has to be one way. Where it becomes like, oh, you have to get this kind of a job. You have to get married to a girl who you're not even in love with. You have to go out drinking every weekend. And you have to change who you are and be this type of person in order to have friends. But when you go your own way and blaze your own trail, you get haters because in their limited worldview, they can't come to grips with you doing your own thing. And this is why I've had people make fun of my social media and my book sales, and mock me for having big dreams, basically my whole life. Not because I'm doing something bad, but because I'm doing things my way, and with a smile on my face, when they didn't think like they could do that. You don't have to fit into any mold that doesn't suit you, and I want to be proof of that. Now moving right along, we have an amazing NBA player, who has a powerful story about overcoming bullying, and even more similar to me, continues to stay joyful and grateful. Who am I referring to? The Greek freak, aka Giannis Antetokounmpo. So growing up in Greece, he was an immigrant who came from a poor family, and if I'm not mistaken, I think like at one point he had to like sell fruit on the highway. But when he first came into the NBA, he was often mocked for being so skinny, and he was viewed as like a raw project only. But But what did he do with all that? First, he used it to get stronger both mentally and physically. He pushed himself in the weight room and worked on his skills relentlessly, to the point where now, as well as for the past several years, he's become one of the best players in the NBA. Now there's a few points I want to highlight from his story that makes it so powerful. First off, being told like he was skinny, he knew what he had to do. He went to the weight room and became a beast. Now I want to tie this into our self-worth as well as our overall self-image. Now I don't believe that our value as a person comes from our looks, and we shouldn't be treated differently or treat others differently based on these things.
Are you too much of a whip to work out? Are you a weakling?
And I also believe that the start to a healthy physical transformation comes from first loving ourselves as we are. But then part of self-love is making ourselves into our best version. And this is how I think a healthy way to view the whole body positivity stuff is. And this of course goes for girls too. So it's not the whole mainstream view where it's oh, you can be healthy even at 500 pounds. But my thing is, we should first be nice to all people. And our self-worth and value as a person shouldn't be seen any differently based on our weight, but rather our character. However, we can first love ourselves as we are, but then realize that if I want to be the best version of myself and the healthiest version, I'm going to actually love myself enough to put the effort into my body and getting stronger and healthier. It's not about shaming our flaws, but rather accepting ourselves and then improving wherever we can. Another piece I love about Giannis' whole story, and how he dealt with bullies and haters, is he chose to stay joyful. If you ever watch him on and off the court, well of course on the court he is a killer, and he does play super tough, but he's also having a ton of fun, always smiling, and dishing out all these high fives on the court too. He loves inspiring the kids in the next generation, so he didn't prove people wrong by becoming colder, he did it by becoming better, but he also kept his softness and his fun side to him too. And it's how people always ask me, if you've been through so much in your life, by going through a life-threatening illness, as well as with all the bullies who I've had to deal with, how do I stay so positive and nice all the time? And it's because I never wanted my circumstances to dictate the outcome. If others want to be mean to me, I'm not changing who I am, because that would actually be giving them the power. So let me be even nicer and smile more, and choose to help more people out than they're gonna hurt. Or also, in spite of all the adversity that I faced, I have no reason to take this out on anyone, and doing that wouldn't help me. So let me keep being nice to others, and let me keep spreading love and positivity, because that's my thing, and that's not going to change just because anyone else wants me to. That's my whole line in the sand that I'm choosing for myself, and I fully love and embrace that about myself. Now next, I have to show some love to all my female listeners and all my female fans out there, because I couldn't finish off this video without giving you guys an example to hold on to. Although of course I did also mention that girl Taya's story in my last video about bullying. But anyways, another great example of someone who overcame bullying and became even better was Simone Biles. So she grew up in foster care, got bullied often, and so often she was underestimated. And of course, a powerful example coming from her whole gymnastics career came about when she listened to her body over all the noise. So that noise was coming from all the sports fans and commentators wanting her to compete, and yet she chose to drop out, and she chose to protect her health and listen to her body. That takes a ton of strength and a ton of courage to do, especially in the public eye. And I get it. I know as athletes growing up, we're so often told to push through everything, and that's what makes us strong and tough. But what happens whenever an athlete does that and then gets hurt worse? Or even maybe it ends their career. All they're left with after that is, oh yeah, that person was so tough. They actually played through a horrible injury, and that shows toughness. And hey, that's a personal choice for every situation. Sometimes of course it is worth it, but the only person who can be the actual judge of that is you. So real strength isn't about pushing through everything, but it's also about knowing when not to. It's realizing you're gonna have haters and all these voices in your ear telling you this is what you have to do, and this is what's best for you and best for your career. But the one person above all who has to have your best interest in mind is you. Only you can make that call for yourself. And this is also of course something I've had to deal with on my whole holistic healing journey. It's about me knowing what my body can handle, and also knowing when to say no. And people are gonna have their opinions no matter what. And this is of course super hard saying no. This is something I'm still working on, because it is super hard for a people pleaser to do. But if saying yes to something means saying no to yourself and your own intuition, it's not worth it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing all these examples of Bullied to Bold. If you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys next time. Stay positive, stay hustling, stay grinding. You guys can overcome any bullies and any haters out there. I love you guys. I will catch you next time. Peace.